Hi folks, Josh Knight the First here with another episode of Exade Replay, coming to you with episode 41 of the series. Let's get right into it. So we're getting down to the wire, only 4 episodes left to go after this one. I'm really sad to see it go, but we've got to get through that end game. So let's go ahead and talk about what we saw here at the beginning of the episode. First and foremost, we're seeing at the beginning that we're seeing a little bit of footage from True Ending. That's the movie for Exade that'll be coming out this next weekend. There's not too much more that's going to affect the plot, but we just need people to know that that movie's coming out. And speaking of the movie, we see that Johnny Maxima does happen to have a meeting with Masamune, and their deal has gone sour. So we see now that Johnny Maxima had different plans than Masamune did. Masamune, of course, wanted to distribute Kamen Rider Chronicle worldwide, whereas Johnny Maxima, with Machina Vision, wanted to go ahead and create a new type of game. This, of course, would feed into the plot of True Ending. Now, the thing about that is, I don't think that Masamune might have thought this through very much, that he could just change the deal willy-nilly like he was Darth Vader or something like that. Whatever, it's not going to happen. It's not going to affect the plot of the show any more than it has already. Now, of course, getting back to the plot of the show proper, we do see that Masamune showed a different power last week. This, of course, is the reset power. Now, this isn't something that actually happens within Masamune. This is all the power of Kronos. So what we're seeing here is that the power of reset basically resets the data of the game to a certain point. Basically like turning off your game without actually saving. That's basically what reset is. So the effects of reset are not all bad and not all good. The good part is that Saibaniko has been cured of the Game Deus strain of the virus, so that's fine. We see that Kuroto's actually gotten some of his lives back as per episode 36, but the unfortunate part is that Hyper Muteki is gone, and the proto-Gashots that Kiria stole are back in Masamune's possession. Now, I was figuring at a certain point they were still going to have to deal with those Gashots, since I think the writers got them too early to make it too easy for them to make it to the ending and have a good ending out of the series. So we had to up the stakes a little bit, which is why I believe the writers chose to get the proto-Gashots back into the hands of Masamune. Now, the big focus in this episode, of course, is going to be Graphite. This is his swan song episode. Now, unfortunately, I can't say, as per the last couple of episodes where we saw Hero shine, Saibaniko shine, Paradox shine, here, unfortunately, it doesn't happen the same for Graphite. He basically is playing the character that he knows he's been playing since he was introduced into the series at the beginning, and that's pretty much how he's been throughout. So the important part to bring up here is that he's the only one who wasn't affected by reset to a point where he can't stand up against Kronos. He's the only one who can still do that, since he is still infected with the Game Deus strain of the Bugster virus. Now, functionally, it makes sense. One way or another, the ending goes through him. We either recruit him and get his Gasha Trophy that way, or defeat him and get the Gasha Trophy through other means. Really, we see that the point that has to be made is that he's a fighter. He accepts who his character is here in the show, and he's going to stick to that. He wasn't going to be a pacifist. He never was, never will be. Now, there's something to be said about a character sticking to their guns like that. I do appreciate on a simplistic level that Graphite was that much of a character where he was just that stoic standpoint of, you know what, I'm the guy, I'm the bad guy, I know what my role is, you don't have to tell me what my role is, you're not going to change what my role is. The unfortunate part about that is that it feels kind of cheap that we're losing him in this episode, and he didn't really get to shine. But of course, before we can get to that actual fight where Graphite bites the dust, yes, we know it's going to happen, why dance around it, we do get a fight early on between Kronos and Exade and Paradox. Now, it's interesting to see how that fight went about, in that Exade and Paradox kind of tag-teamed in an interesting way, in that they combined again to use Mighty Brothers XX, and then split apart to be level 99 of Paradox, and then of course level max of Exade. Now, the interesting thing about that is that we don't know whether they did that because of reset or just because it was a cool thing to do. I'm leaning towards the latter, because it doesn't seem that anything that happened with reset happened to affect Exade or Paradox very much, in that most of the changes put everything back to the beginning of episode 36 when he got Hyper Muteki, so it shouldn't affect Exade more than it has, other than getting rid of his Gashot. Paradox should be absolutely fine. Now, I know I've been complaining for the last couple of weeks about the lack of comic relief. Well, not really complaining, just noting it. I do appreciate how the story's been moving forward, closer and closer to the ending, but here I think they found a way to get some comic relief back in, and that's done through Kuroto trying to find a way to bring back Hyper Muteki. Now, the interesting thing about that is that he brings up the fact that he needs Emu to focus on his game ideas more, but if you really stop to think about that, that's the whole reason that Kuroto infected him with the Bugster virus anyway. Oh my, how things have changed over so many years. We've gone from that being the thing that wanted to kill Emu to that being the thing that we need for Emu to save everyone with. Now, it is worth noting that because of the reset, yes, he did get some lives back, but he did lose some lives in the process, so he went from 94 lives to 82 lives, basically wasting 12 lives trying to reattain the power of Hyper Muteki. But yes, we do have to get to that final fight between Brave and Snipe versus Graphite. Now the fight is actually kind of lackluster, considering all the other fights that we've been getting the last couple of days, and kind of in comparison to the fight at the beginning of the episode, this fight wasn't really that great. Really, we know what's going to happen, and we don't have to waste a lot of time with it, so I guess they felt they didn't have to. I do appreciate that there's one thing I can say about Graphite, and that his character has honor. When Kronos eventually does interfere in the fight, Graphite is having none of it. He believes that Brave and Snipe fought fair and square, won fair and square, and the fight should go to them. The blow exchange between Graphite and Kronos really doesn't mean anything, because in the end, Nico did get that last shot in, albeit using Snipe's original weapon, and that's what ends it. Graphite's done. This time, we mean it. He's gone from the series. He will not be coming back. Now that still doesn't mean Kronos isn't going to still try and interfere. Like we've been saying, he's playing dirty. So what does he try to do? Reset again, because he just learned about this new power. Hell yeah, he's going to try and use it again. The thing about it is Kuroto did manage to figure out a way to bring back Hyper Muteki, and the way that he did it makes perfect sense if you're a gamer. He used a save state. Basically, if I have to think about how Kuroto was able to do that, he must have been probing Emu's memories to see if he could remember what it was like to have Hyper Muteki, and then place that power into a medal that everyone could use. It's kind of a no-duh thing, and it's kind of late in the game to be introducing save states, considering we're 4 episodes away from the ending of the series, but I guess it's something that had to eventually be gotten to, so I'm glad they remembered. And with Kronos' meddling aside, we do have all the Gasha Trophies collected, so now we can finally summon Shenron. I mean Exodia. I mean Roboborg. I mean Game Deus. And next week on the show, we're actually going to get to see what it is to have Game Deus in the game. We're going to see him wreaking havoc on people, giving them strains of the virus. We're going to see an odd fight between Laser and Genmu. I guess they've still got a grudge match. And also we're going to have to see why there's a new Gasha on the field. Toei, we are only so many episodes away from the end. You're still trying to sell us toys? Yes, you are, and I'm probably going to want to buy it. So yeah, Graphite's gone, and now we're having to get to the heart of the problem, which is Game Deus. Kronos will have to do something drastic if he's going to keep himself relevant, and from what I understand, he will in fact do that. I do think it's kind of odd that we didn't get more development out of him, but somebody had to suffer, and really I like some of the other characters better, to be honest, so I think I'm kind of okay with that. But those are just my opinions on the episode. I want to hear what you guys thought, so let's go ahead and talk about this. First off, let's talk about the fact that we've cleared Kamen Rider Chronicle, essentially, aside from beating Game Deus. Now that they've collected all the Gasha Trophies, do we even really need Saiba Nico to be playing the game anymore? I mean, really? Secondly, the effects of Reset would take it back to a time before Saki was deleted, so do you think that there's a possibility that Saki actually could be saved? And lastly, of course, let's not forget Graphite. What did you guys think of him? Do you think he was a worthy adversary for the Kamen Riders, or do you think he should have stayed dead earlier on in the series? You tell me in the comments below. And of course, during the week, you can always talk to me over on social media. Over on Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st. This has been episode 41 of the Exade Replay for episode 41 of the series, Reset Game. I'm Josh Knight the First. I'll see you guys again next week.